Here are 6 inexpensive but surprisingly good products I found on Aliexpress which cost less than £34. And we'll start with this, a mini electric bicycle pump. These have been really popular for the last few years and there are loads of options out in the market, different sizes and different brands. And after using this one for the last few weeks, I can see what the fuss is all about. And after using it for the last few weeks, I can see why they have become so popular. You simply slap it onto the valve, press a button, and after a minute or so, you have a highly inflated tyre. Very simple indeed. So the idea is simply you have an electric motor inside and it makes inflating a tyre super easy with no effort required at all. Whether at home before a ride to replace a track pump, or out on the road or trail to replace a CO2 canister, which I don't like personally, or a mini pump like this. So we have a very compact design, very cute indeed. This one fits in a jersey pocket so you can take it on your ride with you. This one has a USB-C port on the front to charge in just 25 minutes, which is pretty quick, and a LED light on the front to tell you the battery remaining runtime. And it's certainly easier than using a mini pump as well, and a bit quicker. In my testing, a 28mm wide tyre inflates to 55 psi in 1 minute. And 55 psi is my go-to pressure for a 28mm wide tyre for my rider weight and bike weight and the conditions I ride in. And definitely easier and quicker than pumping away on a mini pump like this. And while this does get warm to touch after use, this still gets warm as well. But there are some downsides. It makes quite a noise when you are using it. You can't do it quietly or stealthily in the house at all. As mentioned, it gets quite warm, but no warmer than a mini pump when in use. And the other limitation is you only get, in my testing, up to 4 maximum inflations from one battery charge, which might be enough, probably enough for most people, but might not be enough. It's certainly not as many as this, which is free, endless supply of air for this little pump, but definitely better than a CO2 canister, which gives you 1, maybe 2 uses. So somewhere in between a CO2 and a regular mini pump. The other downside is there is no pressure reading on there, so you have no idea how high your pressure is on the tyres other than your thumb on the tyre or using a separate standalone digital pressure gauge, which I've used in this demonstration. But if you want a pressure gauge, it will increase the size and therefore the weight of the unit. So it's a trade-in, a compromise of portability and compact design and features. But on the plus side, it's tiny, compact, fits in a jersey pocket, ideal for bike packing. So as an emergency backup, which a pump is, to get you home after a puncture, it works extremely well. And I've been very genuinely impressed with the performance and the build quality of this little diddy pump. And it's just £34, so a bit of a bargain as well. If, like me, you always use a heart rate monitor when you're riding, you know they can be quite expensive. And in my experience, they don't always last that long. So out that 70 quid heart rate monitor and in with this one costing just £10, yet it looks basically the same and it works the same in my experience. I've been using this for the last month and it works really well. Gives you reliable, accurate heart rate data. It's Bluetooth and ANT Plus and works with Garmin and Wahoo computer. And quite a basic heart rate monitor with a pod on the front which pops onto the strap so you can wash that separately. And inside the pod is a round 2032 battery, which a fairly common battery size you get from any supermarket or petrol station. So the Magene heart rate monitor, very cheap, but very good performance. I've been very impressed. And I see no reason to spend more money when this works just fine for a tenner. Right, if you have disc brakes on your road bike or gravel bike or mountain bike even, and you probably do because who rides rim brakes these days, joking, you might find a tool like this very useful. It's basically a tool designed to spread the pads apart. So the scenario is you're traveling in the back of a car with your bike with the wheels out, and if you accidentally pull a brake lever, the pistons will come out and the brake pads will come out. And you have to move the brake pads back in, the pistons back into the caliper to allow space for the wheel and the rotor to go back in. Now you can use a screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver, or a tie lever or something else, but these tools, a proper tool does the job much better because it's designed for the purpose of spreading the pads, as its name suggests. So firstly, a nice chamfered edge, so it's very thin and will squeeze into the gap if there is one between the brake pads without damaging the brake pads, which is very important. Brake pads are expensive, don't want to damage them. And then once in there, it's broad and wide enough to wiggle the pads apart and move the pads and therefore the piston back into the caliper, allowing space for the wheel to go back in. So for a tool that costs £1.24, it's a no-brainer to have this in your toolkit when traveling, at home, anytime your brake pads need resetting. Slide this in there. Hey presto, good as new. Right, if you like working on your bike at home, either maintaining or upgrading parts on it, then a good investment is a torque wrench, but they can be expensive. A Park Tool one is over £100, but this one here, just £14, and I'll be using it, and it does work extremely well. I can't see where they cut corners at all. So this is a full-size torque wrench with a big meaty handle and all the tool bits you need for most applications on a bike. And the beauty of the torque wrench compared to a small mini torque wrench is you have the range from 2 up to 24 Newton meters, and that's pretty much spot on for most jobs on a bike. The only ones outside of this range is something like a cassette, which is up to 35 Newton meters, but honestly, in my experience, a cassette doesn't have to be that tight on the wheel. It's also a very nicely made tool, very heavy, very weighty, reassuringly well made and solid. So very simple to use indeed. Simply slide the right collar down and wind the handle in to the desired torque setting marked on the side there. And then simply apply the tool bit onto the end here, press the button in, and that locks into place. And you have a ratchet as well, and then simply tighten that bolt. And when you hear that first click, that's done. You've hit the torque setting, remove it, and you know that bolt is done to the perfect recommended manufacturer torque setting and no higher. Because most modern bikes now have very precise torque settings, and it's worth following them. It's sensible to follow them for safety. So don't over tighten the bolts, especially around the stem and the handlebar and where the levers clamp onto the handlebars as well. And a tool like this makes sure you hit the perfect torque setting all the time. In terms of the accuracy of the torque setting, you need a special jig machine to actually test that properly, which I don't have access to. But it does come with some paperwork that certifies it's been tested to the standards it needs to be. So that's a peace of mind. But yeah, I have no reason to think it's not anything but accurate so far, but it doesn't cost a fortune. So no excuse not to have a good torque wrench in your home workshop. Okay, sticking with the home mechanic theme for a minute are these really nicely made T-bar Allen wrenches. A full range of sizes from 2.5 up to 10 millimeter and T25 as well. And what I personally like about the T-shaped wrenches is you have a nice ergonomic handle, and we also have a ball end on the end of the long Allen key as well. So those tricky bolts to reach, you can get in at a funny angle and just do the bolt up as you need. And then if you have a really stubborn bolt, say it's an 8mm, so ideal for pedals, you have plenty of leverage from that long end there as well. And the tool bits are well made as well. In my experience so far, there's no hint that the metal is soft and likely to round off. I've been using them to build some bikes recently. Stay tuned for that video very soon. And there's no sign of damage to them or the bolts. They've been tightening up. And there are lots of very good reviews on Aliexpress which back up this being a pretty decent product for the money. And so no real skimping on quality despite the low price. And it shows you don't have to spend an absolute fortune on tools. I mean, you can if you want to, if you want the best of the best, but if you don't want the best of the best, just want a good tool, I've been really impressed with these so far. And finally, for my next update on my £400 second-hand Specialized Tarmac SL4, a brand new handlebar. Now, a carbon fiber handlebar, which is a very nice thing indeed in terms of weight and blingness, can cost you many hundreds of pounds. But this one here, just £32, which is insanely cheap. Almost what is the catch? Well, there's no catch on the scales. It weighs from just 150 grams, which is crazy, crazy light. And there are loads of size options down to 38 centimeters and wider if you want as well. We have a nice sort of ergo shallow drop, a tiny bit of flare in the drops as well. I like the fact the drops have a slimmer profile, kind of oversized, so it's a bit easier to grip in the hand, but then an oversized top section for comfort along the tops. It's not an aero handlebar, of course, just a nice regular shaped handlebar, nice ergo tops, nice ergo drops. And if you are internally routing your bike, there are holes in the back of the handlebar there for the brake hoses to go underneath. But my SL4 isn't internally routed, so I don't need that at all. And it's also got some nice grippy material where the stem goes to stop it spinning around, and where the hoods clamp on as well, which is a nice detail there. So yeah, £32 for a carbon handlebar. Sound too good to be true. What's the catch? Well, hopefully there isn't one, but I'll find out soon when I fit it to my bike and let you know. But yeah, very impressive price to weight ratio indeed. This video has been sponsored by Aliexpress, your go-to platform for all the amazing products I've featured in this video and loads more that don't cost a fortune. And there's some great news because Aliexpress has just launched a new initiative called Team Up Cash Back, designed to help you save even more money on everything you buy. Here's how it works. It's super simple. First, join my team using the link down below or the QR code on screen right now. And once you're part of the team, you'll earn 2% cash back on every purchase you make. And here's the best bit. The more you shop, the more you save. And getting started is super easy as well. Simply download a smartphone app, either for Android or iOS, the link down below, or the barcode on screen right now to join the fun and save a load of money on some of the best cycling upgrades, saving you a fortune in the process, which I've highlighted in today's video.